Hello, welcome back to another episode of Specs Tech. This one's a little bit different. I'm going to start reviewing some games that I like and offering critique on some of the flaws in the game. So, I think I found the perfect game to start reviewing first is a good game with some flaws, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl Ultimate Edition. Now, I picked this up for $20 at Best Buy. It's weird as they had the regular version in stock and that was $30, which doesn't make any sense at all. It would have probably made sense for the regular version to be $10, or this be $20, but whatever, I'm at Best Buy, so I don't really buy a lot of physical Switch games, but I kind of wanted this one physically, just because, I don't know, I feel like this game might become kind of uncommon one day. I only found this game in the Best Buy. You couldn't find it at GameStop or Walmart or Target or anything. I had the game on my Switch already, and this code's already used. This is all that comes with it, is just the code, which is a little disappointing since this is the second physical version of this game. I thought it would have the update and all the DLC already unlocked on the cartridge, but I guess we don't live in that world. On the back, it's just showing off all the characters that were added from the DLC ones, which we'll get to them. Yeah, not a bad box art. I don't know why they're bragging about DICE and the Game Awards, but I guess this game should be grateful to get any awards. So now we're gonna move on to the game. So here's the game. Probably gonna see a little bit of my prop to hold my phone up here, but that's okay. Just gonna have to deal with it. So this is the main menu of the latest version. We're gonna hop right into training mode here. One thing I am gonna turn the game down. One thing I want to talk about is this roster. I think it's very good for a very first Mix Smash game or All-Star Brawl, because there's a lot of leaks and evidence that there's going to be a sequel. So I think for a first run, this is pretty good, but I don't really think they should go too crazy out of adding characters. I think that's a problem with another game I'm going to review soon, which is going to be Smash Ultimate. I think that game has an issue of too many characters, and I think this game needs to flesh out a lot of the moves feeling similar to each other first before they go crazy. Adding a bunch of modes and characters, I think they need to refine their roster a bit. Now, one thing that's very different in this game compared to Smash is that there's no analog movement. It's all digital. You can play this game with a D-pad if you want to. So with that, the game's not going to know how hard you tilt the stick when you hit the A button. It's not going to know. It's just going to do like a jab attack. So I'm going to put the CPU on, we'll see that. So I'm tilting the, it's just regular jab. So you had to do like either the stick or Y and A, or you can map it to whatever. And there's also like smash attack, dash attacks, which is kind of weird, but you know, with no analog, there's no tap jump. I think they might have added that in an update, but I can't seem to find the option for it. So X or whatever you map it to is how you jump, which honestly that's how I play Ultimate anyways. So kind of used to this. Obviously B button's the same, except there's only kind of like a Smash 64 inspired way. There's only 3 special moves. I mean, mostly 3 special moves. I mean, there's one character that has extra moves, which is a bit kind of against the game design. It's Hugh Neutron, but yeah. Most characters just have a neutral air, like a neutral attack, an up, a down, a heavy neutral, and a heavy up. All the B1s mostly the same. Sometimes they're different when you're on the ground, sometimes they're not. And every character has a command grab. You can throw them up, or you can throw them, I don't think you can throw them down. No, you can't throw them down. So it's just up and to the side. Throw them to the left. You can throw them to the right. And you can do it in midair. Yeah, throw them on here. It is kind of cool that this game does have air grabbing, but I think it's a little too floaty to use. But I don't know. I do think the character design is fine, but I feel like a big issue with a lot of the base game characters is that these animations come out like way too quick, and a lot of them, I'm not gonna go through the whole roster in this video, but a lot of them kind of have like similar moves. Like they got really fast up A's and then a down A that will usually combo into the up A or something like that. Like I'm gonna try to land that here. Yeah, something like that. And some characters can just do that over and over and over. It's not very, I don't know. I don't think it's very balanced, right? I mean, this game is very well balanced. They do. Every time this like a YouTuber makes a video like, oh, this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle is like top tier, the next update will be like, oh yeah, we nerfed that top tier, which is, I mean, I guess it's kind of good, but this game, we'll get to the modes in a second, but you can also strafe. I guess that's important. I don't really see myself using it. I guess it's good for spacing out moves, but yeah. And you have a taunt button. Only one taunt though. And you can there's an air dash which you can air dash. For some reason you can press taunt and air and it makes this weird noise and you just fall. And you can tech out of it. If I can. So I don't know what's up with that. There's no rolling in this game. Honestly, doing that L thing in the air and then moving the stick, that's the only way you can roll. So, if you really need to roll, I guess you could do it like that. A little weird. ZL button is just for strafing, or you can shield infinitely in this game, but I think grabs beat it. You do take chip damage, though. So, and every character has an air dash and a double jump. And of course you can wave dash. This is the game with the easiest wave dashing we've ever seen. Like I thought Rivals of Aether had the easiest wave dash, but man, this game really does. And another thing that they added in an update is some items. These weren't in the original game for whatever reason. They're pretty fun. There's not really many items here that act like Smash, except maybe this one's basically the bumper, and there's a Krabby Patty, which just heals you. So I think the items here are unique enough. And obviously there's voice acting. They added that in an update, which is kind of cringe that I had that day one, but I don't know, maybe voice acting rights or everything, who knows. But yeah, I think the items they added in an update, I think they're pretty good, pretty unique. I mean, some of them are unique. A few of them kind of remind you of older Smash items, like this one, this car is kind of like a red shell from Melee. But most of the items are pretty unique, I'd say. You got this rocket that just blows up. You got this gnome, which, the gnome's a good one. It just hangs on to you, and it does like a hitbox underneath of you, and you can do combos off of it. I honestly think it's probably the coolest item. If you're actually good at this game, you do combos. And, you know, some bombs, if I can hit them. You can summon jellyfish. One thing I'd like to see in a sequel to this game is either similar to Frame Makers or Smash, it'd be assists. Like, either you pick an assist before the match, or it's just I don't know, maybe like a Nickelodeon blimp can summon characters to fly in or something. I think it'd be cool to like see Mr. Krabs come in and drop his money and go crazy trying to get it, or maybe Goddard. You could fly on Goddard and shoot stuff and everything. I think it'd be cool. So we're gonna get back to the main menu now. So the other modes in this game are kind of interesting. You just got time, which is just talk about the time. The sports mode I've not actually played yet. The one that I've seen, they just put an item like a football, and they just put random goals around the arena, and you basically just want to score as many goals as you can. You can still KO people. I just don't think it matters. There's this extra mode, which just shows you all the moves, which is nice. Shows you all the moves of every character, which is, it's pretty nice, but it doesn't show you like hidden moves. Like Patrick has a hidden He has a hidden like 360 degree tilt the stick command grab, and doesn't really tell you about that. Or Hugh Neutron. He has a hidden move if you hold the strike button and you basically do a back air. He can do that in the air. It's like a really weird long horizontal move. And he also has a 360 degree plus taunt, which does like a Chun-Li kick move. So I think those are supposed to just be little Easter eggs, but it does kind of make the move section feel a little incomplete. So if they do bring these characters back in a sequel, I'd recommend just leaving them unhidden, just for clarity along the whole roster. As you say, replays, jukebox. One thing about the music, I don't really think the music in that game is that good. I think the Garfield stage and the Hugh Neutron stage probably have the best music in the game. I think the best base game song is probably the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle music, but other than that, I think the music in this game is kind of generic. But I mean, what can you do? This game's kind of on a budget. There's an arcade mode, which is basically just classic mode. I'm not going to start around because the loading times in this port are pretty long. But basically just go for like 5 or 6 rounds. Find a computer with no mini games and no bosses at the end. So the only things you unlock from this are stuff in the gallery or a profile picture for online mode, which is the last mode we got to cover. The online's dead. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's dead. They never added crossplay, which was the only thing on their roadmap that they did not add. That was at least public knowledge. There are no lobbies up. And I don't want to do this. In case there's that one guy who's online in this, but yeah, this online is pretty damn dead. These are the icons you can get from beating story mode. Obviously, all the locked ones. That's story mode. Well, not story mode, arcade mode. I do like that you can pick your region though. It helps support lag. I think this game does have way better online than Ultimate. Just for the fact it lets you pick competitive and regular just right off the bat. I do like that a lot better. Your rating doesn't mean anything that much in this game compared to like GSP or something. I do think the online is pretty good. I just wish they had a crossplay. I don't think it would have been... I'm not a developer, but I don't think it could have been that difficult. But I want to sum up my thoughts on this game, and the second half of this video will be some characters that I want. But I don't want to keep recording the Switch for that long. But I think this game got dealt kind of a dirty hand. I think it could have been a lot more... I think it could have been a lot more of a better game if it wasn't such low budget and had a lot more stuff at launch. Now, if you go into the store and buy the Ultimate Edition, you had no idea about this game's update history. Yeah, you got a pretty good game. You get all the DLC characters that came out. You get Garfield, Shredder, and these guys. And you get the items and the voice acting. One thing that is a little annoying is when you first get this game, when you get the DLC, you have to go through a bunch of unskippable unlock screens, which are a little annoying, but that's only really will last like a minute or so it's not that big a deal. But if this game would have had more like voice acting, any voice acting, the items at launch, maybe a better arcade mode, because none of the updates ever fixed that stuff. They only fixed bugs related to it. I think this game could have been a lot more interesting, and I think if this game actually had a good story mode, would have been nice, but maybe that could have been a little too out of scope for the developers. Also, another critique is that each character only has one alt, and there were no alts at the game at launch, which didn't make any sense at all, because you pick this guy, you pick Aang here, and you have 4 of them, and they all look exactly the same. They don't even get darker or brighter. They look exactly the same, which is a big like this you can barely tell the difference in this one. Like these alts, most of them are pretty bad or generic, like the sunglasses, a hat. At least that was a different color. That's just a party hat. That's actually probably one of the best ones, is Human Zoom. That one's pretty good. These are literally just Santa hats. Like, the alt game in here is just kind of weak. And you only get one alt per character. High Rod Jenny is probably the second best one in the game. Plus, Duck Hat Hugh is pretty good. Then you got Rocco's just boring purple shirt. I don't know why you would pick that one. But I do like this game a lot. If there's a sequel, I will buy it once the price drops, because that's another big thing about this game, is that this game was $50 at launch. It didn't have any items or voice acting, and the game is also horribly unbalanced. Like, $50? No way. $20 on sale of all the DLC? That I don't mind. So, I'm gonna give this game a B+. Now, if this game would have been day one, I would have given it probably like a D. So, now we're gonna stay tuned. If you want, stay tuned. I'm gonna be talking about some characters that I think would be a good fit for this game. Hello, you made it past the review. Proud of you. Now let's talk about a couple characters that I want. I think the number one pick, and the most obvious pick for the sequel, is Squidward. I think he fit right in. Being, how angry he is, and his clarinet's already in the game, which gives him a pretty good neutral special already right off the bat with the sour notes and everything. And I think a cool thing for him would be having some moves from either Sponge out of water or some move from Captain Magma, which I think would also make a god tier alt. I think that'd be a great alt, and maybe if Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2 does something that I hope it does, is add special moves for the alternate costumes, which I think would be cool. Maybe he can erupt and do fire damage, and maybe hurts himself too. Maybe something going on like Pichu or something, but yeah. I think Squidward is definitely going to be in the next game, and number one pick. Number two pick would be Kitty Catchwell from Tough Puppy. I was thinking maybe they could build her off of April O'Neil, because they both kind of have a lot in common. They're both kind of slim, agile fighters, and I don't think there would be a lot of work needed, because we already got Danny Phantom in the game, so I think getting another Butch Hartman character that isn't Fairly Odd Parents would be pretty nice, and I don't think Dudley is probably interesting enough to have a moveset, but I think Kitty could. She could do a bunch of good kicks and use her spy gear, which is something that I think we're kind of missing from Nickelodeon. There's a couple of spy theme shows, and we don't really have like a spy character. Maybe she could have a move where she like turns temporarily invisible, but like still see your eyes or something, or she leaves like landmines around or something. I think she could be an interesting character, and it'd be great to see more Grey Delisle in the game too. This pick might be a little controversial, but I don't think we need Timmy Turner. I think we should have Timmy's dad. We already got Hugh Neutron in the first game, and I think the idea of just having their dads is significantly more interesting and more varied than just having the main characters. I think Timmy's dad could have a god tier moveset, just completely made up of references. I already see the battering ram as his heavy dash attack. I already see that. He can use the Dinkelberg as his taunt. It's perfect. And I think he'd have a great moveset. He could use his car, maybe, because he's not very good at driving. He can use some, his up B can maybe be like the Squirrely Scout recovery or something. Maybe if he glides in like a flying squirrel or something. One of his moves could be If I Had One, which I think would be a funny like down special, him just like shaking his hands and does damage. I think Timmy's dad is way more interesting than a character than having Timmy in. I do think Timmy has a way better chance, but I think Timmy's dad would just be funnier. Plus we get his godlike voice actor in the game, so I think Timmy's dad would be a hilarious pick and would fit right in with Hugh Neutron. Now, another character that I would want in would be probably, it's kind of a tough choice. Maybe, I definitely want another Jimmy Neutron rep. I think it would have to be Carl or Sheen. Or maybe they could be together and have like a swapping move like CatDog does. I think they could be pretty fun character. Carl and Sheen maybe together. And I also think it'd be funny if they got in over Jimmy. So, obviously Carl can have a lot of llama theme moves, and Sheen can have a lot of Ultra Lord theme moves, and maybe they can like summon in a jukebox from Sam's, and maybe that could just be like a taunt or a damaging item or something. I think they would be funny if they got in. I think a good obscure pick would be a character from Action League Now. I loved Action League Now growing up. I don't know exactly what character I would really want. Maybe, I think maybe the main dorky muscle guy could be good. I don't think Meltman, who's my favorite character, would be a good character. He could be a good assist, though. I think he could be a fun assist, but a character from Action League Now would be super fucking cool, and would definitely have. It could have a really funny stage, too. I haven't even thought about the stage potential for these characters, but yeah, I would love a character from Action League Now. For another SpongeBob rep, a lot of people would say Mr. Krabs, but I'm gonna say Plankton. They should pull Tekken X Street Fighter Pac-Man and put Plankton in like a mech. And maybe he can have Karen be like a summon or something. I think Plankton in like a mech would be very funny, and he'd be quite big. It'd be a juxtaposition to have Plankton be a heavyweight when would probably be the smallest fighter in any Smash game or Smash like if he was outside of the mech. So I think it'd be kind of funny to have him being as a heavyweight. Maybe one of his moves could eject him from the mech and he flies out. Kind of like Bowser Jr. in Ultimate. That's kind of what I'm going off of here. But I think seeing Plankton in a mech, or even Plankton with Karen, could work. And I think it could be an interesting villain pick, since the only villain we got in the game is really Shredder. So I think it could be interesting to have Plankton as a character. And not a character, maybe a boss. It could be a good boss too. You have to destroy a bunch of his gadgets before he gets the Krabby Patty formula or something like that. There's a lot you could do with Plankton for a potential sequel. And my last pick for at least this video, I think is gonna be Heifer from Rocco's Modern Life. I feel like Rocco's moveset in the current game is a bit I think it's a little too heavily inspired on references and kind of comes off as a little bit bland. I think he's definitely the DLC character people don't really care as much about. But I think adding in Heifer might be able to change that. He could be a bit of a heavy. He's basically Rocco's Patrick, so could add him in. He could have a lot of interesting moves and references to Rocco's Modern Life, and I think it'll just be nice if Rocco had his best friend right next to him. I think it's way better than adding in the turtle guy. I don't really like Filbert that much, so I think Heifer would be a good character. I don't think people would be very like hyped over him, but I do think he'd be a fun character to have in, and I think Rocco should have his best friend. I mean, SpongeBob has Patrick. Rocco should have Heifer. So that's gonna do it for what characters I want in, at least for now. I might make a part 2 with a bit more effort, and there's also some assist ideas that I have, like Gary and Goddard, and maybe Cosmo and Wanda could be an assist. So there's definitely potential for a part 2 here. So I'm gonna leave it here. Thank you for watching this episode of Spec Tech Game Review.